It didn't look like fire. It looked like winter. At 2:30 in the afternoon, a thick, white fog rolled down the streets of Cleveland, Ohio. It hugged the ground, spilling over the curbs, sinking into storm drains, creeping under the doorways of working-class families. It was beautiful, almost magical. Children paused on their walk home from school to watch it. Dogs sniffed at the icy vapors. None of them knew they were standing ankle-deep in a bomb. When the spark finally caught, the streets didn't just burn. They detonated. Manhole covers became artillery shells. The sewer network became a subterranean flamethrower. And in less than an hour, 130 people would be incinerated in a tragedy born of wartime desperation and a fatal misunderstanding of the cold. This is the story of the East Ohio gas explosion of 1944. A catastrophe where the boundaries of modern engineering were pushed past their absolute limits, and the human cost of hubris was paid in ash. The year is 1944. The Second World War is raging across the Atlantic. But here, on the shores of Lake Erie, Cleveland is fighting the war with steel, sweat, and fire. The city is an industrial titan, producing the machinery that will defeat the Axis powers. But all that industry requires power. It requires gas. In the freezing Ohio winters, demand for natural gas routinely outpaced the pipeline's supply. Factories were at risk of shutting down. Homes were at risk of freezing. The East Ohio Gas Company needed a solution. They needed to store massive amounts of gas during the summer to release during the winter. But how do you store millions of cubic feet of an invisible gas in the middle of a crowded city? The answer was a marvel of modern chemistry, liquefied natural gas, or LNG. By cooling natural gas down to an unfathomable negative to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 156 degrees Celsius, it changes from a vapor into a liquid. More importantly, it shrinks to 1/600th of its original volume. What would normally fill a Zeppelin could now fit in a barrel. In 1941, the company built 3 massive, heavily insulated spherical tanks. They worked perfectly. The engineers were hailed as heroes. The city had its fuel, but by 1943, the war machine demanded even more. The company needed a 4th tank, and this is where the cracks in the foundation began to form. Tank number 4 was different. To save space, they didn't build a sphere. They built a cylinder large enough to hold 90 million cubic feet of gas. But there was a more insidious problem: the metal itself. It was 1943. The military had a stranglehold on stainless steel and high-nickel alloys, the materials necessary to withstand cryogenic temperatures. Driven by wartime rationing and a tragic overconfidence, the East Ohio Gas Company built tank number 4, using steel containing only 3.5% nickel. It was a fatal compromise. Metals behave strangely in extreme cold. At minus 250 degrees, low-nickel steel loses its flexibility. It doesn't bend. It doesn't flex with the shifting pressures of the liquid inside. It becomes brittle, as fragile as glass. For a year, millions of gallons of violently cold liquid sloshed inside a glass jar, towering directly over the homes of East 61st Street. The engineers trusted their blueprints. They ignored the laws of metallurgy. Friday, October 20th, 1944. To 30 p.m. Workers inside the plant hear a sound that freezes the blood in their veins. A shuddering groan echoes across the yard. On the side of tank number 4, a scene simply lets go. The brittle steel shatters. Millions of gallons of liquefied natural gas cascade into the yard. As soon as the minus 250-degree liquid hits the October air, it instantly boils back into a gas. But because it is so terribly cold, it is heavier than the surrounding air. It doesn't rise into the sky to dissipate. It falls. A tidal wave of white, freezing vapor pours over the containment walls. It floods down East 61st Street. It creeps into basements. It flows down the gutters and cascades into the municipal sewer system. Housewives looking out their kitchen windows assume it's smoke from a nearby fire. Workers in the plant run for their lives, their boots snapping against the freezing pavement. The vapor is surging, expanding, mixing with oxygen. It is waiting for a spark. To this day, no one knows what ignited the vapor. A spark from a passing streetcar, the pilot light of a basement water heater, a discarded cigarette. It didn't matter. The air itself caught fire. The devastation that followed would reshape American engineering. But the price was paid entirely by innocent people who just happened to be in the path of a technological experiment gone wrong. Before we witness the harrowing aftermath of the Cleveland firestorm, take a moment. If you believe the human stories behind these disasters must be remembered, please leave a like on this video and subscribe. Your support allows us to keep pulling these forgotten tragedies from the ashes of history. Now, back to East 61st Street. At 2:40 p.m., the neighborhood of St. Clair ceases to be a part of Cleveland and becomes an inferno. Because the gas had seeped into the sewer lines, the explosion doesn't just happen above ground. It happens beneath their feet. The sewer system detonates in a chain reaction. Heavy iron manhole covers are blown dozens of feet into the air, raining down like shrapnel. Flames shoot out of the plumbing fixtures inside people's homes. Kitchen sinks and bathroom drains become blowtorches, instantly setting houses ablaze from the inside out. Those who survive the initial flash rush into the streets, only to find the asphalt melting beneath their shoes. Families are separated in a thick, choking black smoke that replaces the white fog. 20 minutes later, the intense radiant heat compromises one of the original spherical tanks. Tank number 3. It violently ruptures, releasing millions more gallons of liquid gas into the inferno. A column of fire reaches 3,000 feet into the sky. Airplane pilots flying out of local airfields report feeling the heat through the glass of their cockpits. The temperature in the epicenter is estimated to exceed 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Brick crumbles, steel beams turn to liquid. For the residents trapped in the 1 square mile exclusion zone, there is no escape. They are caught between a wall of fire above and detonating sewers below. When the flames finally burned themselves out the next day, the St. Clair neighborhood looked like the fire-bombed cities of Europe. 1 square mile was erased from the map. 79 homes to factories and over 100 vehicles were reduced to ash. 680 people were left homeless. But the human toll was devastating. 130 men, women, and children lost their lives. Many were workers who had stayed behind trying to close valves. Many more were families who never saw the vapor coming. Because the heat was so intense, over 50 of the victims could not be identified and were buried in a mass grave at Highland Park Cemetery. Why did it happen? Hubris. The rush of wartime production blinding engineers to the fundamental realities of the physical world. The investigation proved that the low-nickel steel used in tank number 4 became disastrously brittle at cryogenic temperatures. The vibration of a nearby train, or simply the shifting weight of the liquid, was enough to crack the glass like metal. The disaster halted the natural gas liquefaction industry for 20 years. When it finally returned, the rules had changed permanently. Today, LNG tanks are constructed with 9% nickel steel or aluminum alloys, ensuring they remain ductile at negative to 160 degrees. Furthermore, modern facilities are never built looming over residential streets. The modern world runs on the power we extract from the earth. But the Cleveland, East Ohio gas explosion remains a haunting reminder of the forces we attempt to cage. Engineering is not just math and metal. It is a promise made to the people who sleep in the shadows of our creations. A promise that in Cleveland, in 1944, was violently, tragically broken.